Diana and I were born identical twins in September of 1982. So today we're going to answer 25 of the most common, funniest questions that we get all of the time. If you are a twin or you know a twin, these are the most standard questions and it's really fun to answer. If you have any other questions that come to mind, you can leave them down in the comments and we'll do a follow-up. But you would not believe the consistency in these questions.
Welcome to the Minimal Mom Podcast, where simplicity meets inspiration on your journey to a clutter-free and intentional life. Join us each week as we dive into practical tips, real-life stories, and expert interviews to guide you through the art of decluttering, intentional living, and finding joy in the simple moments. This is the Minimal Mom Podcast.
We've shared the story a little bit of our mom not finding out that she was having twins until about a month before we were due. You know, back in the 80s, they didn't do all the ultrasounds and everything.
Well, and
they
twins
do now.
weren't nearly as common.
No. So her doctor held off on telling her because she had high blood pressure and he had an intuition that she might freak out a little bit.
I don't know if he thought through this though, because they only had one crib and they're poor farmers. And so I don't know what he thought she was going to do with all of these babies. So we shared a crib and kept each other up for the first 2 years of our lives.
My mom would say that we were like puppies, like we always had to be touching while we were sleeping. Well, so first things first, who is the older twin?
Dawn.
So
I likely pushed her out.
Right. So we were born cesarean. And so I did come out first. We don't know. Do we know for sure? Would that have been the natural birth order? I don't know. If there's any doctors that could let us know. Like, can you tell?
Oh, like who should have come out first?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Who's closest to the bottom, right?
Right.
So,
I don't know.
Yeah. Do you think maybe they pulled the top one out first? That maybe I should have.
I'm surprised you weren't like raising your hand, being like, pick me.
Well, I was already at the other entrance, ready to go. I was winning it in my mind.
That is probably actually what happened. Also, hopefully you're watching this on YouTube because I just realized when we worked in radio together, people often couldn't tell our voices apart. Yeah. So we might have to say, Dawn talking or something. Or just watch it on YouTube where you can see who's talking.
I was going to say raise my hand, but then that goes into when Mom put our initials on our shoes and we both had the same initials.
So all the shoes had D's on them, so that was not helpful. But then again, I was like, did it matter who got which shoes?
Yeah, but I mean, imagine that pregnancy brain. If you are that fatigued that you put D's on 4 sets of shoes.
Yeah. Well, so that's another question. Can your parents tell you apart? Oh. So early on, so one of us has a birthmark. And so Mom used that, I believe. But I think pretty quickly then it was, we look very much alike. I'll put some baby pictures on here, but I think you could tell us apart.
Anyone who is with you every day would know.
All right, so very common questions. Can you read each other's minds?
Not even close.
No.
But we just have a lot of the same tendencies.
We've spent so much time together that, you know, anytime you've spent a lot of time with someone, you just get to know them.
And we think the same way.
Do you feel each other's pain?
Thank goodness, no.
No. That would be so bizarre. I mean, I don't know. How do I know? I don't. Maybe when I'm feeling a pain, you are, and I just don't know because I'm not with you.
You did have 4 C-sections.
Yeah, and you didn't feel it.
Not at all.
And then you had 4, and I didn't feel it.
So I think it's actually pretty well documented.
Got it. All right. Do you ever switch places and trick people? So remember that movie, The Parent Trap? I mean, they had an elaborate scheme with all of that.
And they were also exactly identical because they were a movie.
The same person. Yeah.
All of our friends in school could tell us apart.
Yes.
So tricking teachers, it wasn't, and we were good kids. It just didn't really occur to us. If someone would have egged me on, I would have been all over it.
Yeah. But you did do it one time just to try and get out of skipping a class. Yeah. But you didn't even convince them. You weren't.
Yeah.
Another question though that we would get asked all the time is, how do we tell you apart? So people would want to know, like right now our hair is different colors and stuff, but you know, when we were younger, people, they could tell there were differences, but they would forget who is who. That was probably the biggest thing. So they'd be like, oh, Dawn, short hair, short name. Or I have some little scars on my cheeks and they'd be like, okay, Dawn has the scars and I hate it.
I feel like that's what our family, like extended aunts and uncles did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, often a lot of them would forget, okay, I see the scars, but which name does that go with?
Yeah.
It doesn't
Hair
correlate.
was really the only way.
Yeah. And we usually, and once we were in like kindergarten and older, we had different haircuts. Before that, we had the same.
Yeah.
Which twin is smarter, funnier, and prettier? So I always thought you were the pretty one and you thought I was prettier.
You did?
I did. Yeah, for sure. Smarter, we were pretty neck and neck.
We graduated with the same GPA to 3 decimal points. I remember our counselor coming in, he goes, you won't believe this, you guys have the same GPA. And we took different classes.
And I think we had the same ACT score too.
That probably would make sense.
We weren't really competitive academically.
Not at all.
Diana, well, you were better athletically but I think because you were more competitive.
It just drove me a little harder.
Do you want to tell the story of, does it help you process if you tell the story of our senior year of soccer, or are you kind of over it now?
Our junior year, I got Dawn on the varsity team, and our senior year, we got a new coach, and Dawn got me on the JV team. Which now, in hindsight, we had a much better coach and we had more fun. All of our senior peers were miserable.
Yeah, they did not like the coach.
It actually worked out. You know, you could just be kind of relaxed, but...
I did feel bad about that. You were crying on the day when they announced the teams, and I was like...
When you're a senior and you get taken off at the varsity team, like... Imagine having a letter jacket with a soccer ball on it, pulling up to the JB soccer game. And when you're Diana...
has been.
And Dawn's just like, cool, where's the Gatorade? And Diana's like, oh my gosh, let me hide under this bench. So, this was funny now how those things...
I know.
Don't matter.
Yep. Funnier. Diana was always the funny one.
And I think, again, though, because Dawn has a very dry... funny wit like our dad, but I just really care if people like me or if I make a good impression, so I think I try a little harder. But you're pretty funny.
You're more outgoing. I was very quiet in school, and even at home I was much more quiet. Which if you're a quiet person, you don't think of yourself as quiet because you're very much participating in your head, and you're still involved. You're just kind of more observing. And so people be like, oh, Dawn's so quiet. And I'm like, oh, am I? I didn't perceive myself that way, but now I know that I was. Do you have your own secret language?
We did.
My mom says we did when we were little.
So our 2-year-old jabbers and jabbers and jabbers. It is so cute. And there's intonation. She is saying something. I think that's what we did.
But my mom would say it was like we understood each other, and then we'd respond, so Cora needs a twin to understand her.
It's getting harder and harder because...
You literally said it like you're on the phone with me today, and you're like, Cora, I don't know what you're saying.
None of my other kids jabbered like this.
Yeah,
but she's just always trying to catch up with the older kids. Yeah. And so I just feel like she's like, well, they're talking... Like, Adley will come in the room and be like, hey, can we watch a show? And Cora will come right behind her and be like, ha. And it's just like she's saying the same thing. Anyways, so we had that little language, and they didn't have phones back then to record it, and so we don't have documentation of it.
What's it like to be a twin?
Oh, the greatest.
It's so
Not
cool.
everybody will tell you that it's the greatest. We thankfully have always gotten along. We probably have we had any fights in our life? Like,
not big ones. Never, like, we've never gone more than a day without talking to each other.
The other day, you kind of pushed a button, and I just was tired, and I was like, okay, I gotta go, I'll call you later. And then later I was like, I'm sorry, that just like really pushed my buttons, and so I just, whatever. But then I was over in like 10 minutes and
we've never had big blowouts, or I don't know. And it's not, we have different opinions on things where we're actually quite different. I think on a recent video of yours, it said we probably wouldn't even be friends in real life, but like... I don't know. I think
it's the greatest. Literally, this is the gift I would give every person in the world is...
Yeah. I mean, I think maybe an only negative to it is that we didn't always develop outside friendships as deeply, I think, because we had each other. But that's why I'm taking Diana's friendship workshop so I can make some new friends. So that'll be good. So we'll talk more about that coming up. Details down below.
Dawn needs to rebuild her
friend
base.
Since we've been talking about this, you all you're so kind, because I've had so many offers for friendship and I'm feeling quite loved right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel like there's not something wrong with me.
No.
It's just finding the
We
right
genuinely
friends.
In this instance can say it's not you, it's them.
Oh, thank you.
100%.
Do you like the same foods?
Yeah, remember when Grandma took us to lunch? She took us each separately to the same restaurant when we were right after college. We both ordered the same exact thing.
Yeah. I was a touch more adventurous with like vegetables and stuff. You were a little pickier. Our grandpa actually used to call us the Yuck Yuck girls because we wouldn't eat the food my grandma would make. But she would make like dumplings and sauerkraut and
onions and hamburgers.
Bohemian
when you're a kid.
Food. Yeah. Did you ever dress alike when you were kids?
money was very tight for our parents, and so a lot of our clothing came from garage sales or hand-me-downs from other family members. So we actually have a number of pictures of us in boy clothing that is not coordinated, but you would know when it was a gift from a family member. Then we would have like little matching Christmas or Easter dresses.
Or on some special occasions, we would have like matching
But
Christmas
once we got
dresses
old
and
enough
stuff.
to start picking out our clothes,
We did not. We definitely had different styles. Although there were some times then once we were in college when we would get together and we would be wearing the same thing. Our roommates were like, "Did you plan that?" We're
well,
like,
and actually
nope.
though, we basically had a joint wardrobe in high school and middle school. Didn't we share everything?
We shared a lot.
Almost.
Some things though.
Maybe if it was like I bought that with my money and it was kind of your, but that was probably 5%.
Do you get tired of people mixing you up, or did you? It did used to bother me a little bit.
Yeah.
It was very common. People would be like, Dawn, Diana, whoever you are, or hey, Madsen, twin.
Yeah.
And I've told the story before, but when I went to college, so we did agree to go to separate colleges. You would have been fine going to the same one. Mm-hmm. I was like, I think I need to see what it's like not to be in Diana's shadow. And so it was pretty important to me that we didn't go to the same college. But I do remember my first semester in college, we had a high school friend come visit. And she was just hanging out at my dorm room with my roommates and I, and she was like, "Oh my goodness, Dawn, I've never heard you talk this much." And my roommates were like, "What are you talking about? Dawn talks all the time." And I didn't realize that like you kind of just did the talking, and I really was fine with that.
I just did, right? I didn't think about it. I didn't think, and I guess that's very common in twins to have an advocate twin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that's funny. The college thing, I just thought I was going on my own, and I didn't think about you were actually intentionally choosing to not go to the same, which is totally
probably a good thing you didn't know.
Yeah.
But do you remember that? I don't know if this stuck out to you. Then when I went to college, people called me by my first name.
I remember that
because they knew there was just no other. They didn't even know Diana existed.
Oh yes.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm hearing my name all the time. And I was like, oh, this is what single people, like what it's like.
And I would literally think, how do you know it's me?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because in college, we were always called by our last name.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Did I say college? In high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, we didn't really think that much of it. It was just kind of was what it was. But so that did stand out. It was fun though then when we'd go visit each other's campuses and people were like, "Wait, you didn't know you had a twin," because we still looked a lot alike at that point. Oh, have you ever dated the same person? Well, it's not a secret anymore, but Diana dated Tom first. So.
And then when we broke up, and then later, a couple years later, then Dawn dated him, and then our dad said, "I always thought you would be better with Dawn."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we didn't otherwise.
Ever.
We didn't even date in high school.
No, but we wouldn't have we didn't like the
We
same
had different
people.
tastes, yeah. Do you finish each other's sentences? I was going to say not so much that. We don't even have to speak in full sentences around each other because we often know what the other means.
I was going to say I like to do all the talking, so I don't need you to finish mine.
No, I people have like observed us before and been like, you don't even complete your thoughts because it was just like, we get it. And then you're like on to the next thing.
Well, and our mom, hi mom, I never realized this. She said when the three of us get together, because we love getting together with our mom, you two can go off on your own little tangents. I really didn't know we did that until she brought it up, and then I thought about it and recognized that we do it all the time.
Sorry, Mom.
Yeah.
Are you sure it's not just Diana?
It could be.
Do you have identical handwriting?
No.
Mine's very messy. I don't care.
I have my mom's handwriting. I don't know how that happens. One time I wrote a thank you card to my aunt, and she actually called my mom and said, "Why did you write this card for Diana?"
And you were the one, if we had to forge like a permission slip or something growing up, Diana would write it.
Oh,
and like our mom was pretty sick in like high school. And so my mom would just be like, write a check or, whatever. Yeah. And Diana would be the one then that would like have to sign it.
I think we're past the statute of limitations.
I think so. 20 some years, I think we're okay.
Okay, I was just like, well, we just said that.
The school's going to come after us.
The checks is what I'm worried about. The school notes, I mean, everybody did that, right? Like you'd just be like.
The pink slips.
You would write it in your own handwriting. Yeah. Like Diana has to leave for an orthodontist appointment today, and then you would sign in mom's handwriting, or I would.
Yeah. There was one time I got a pink slip on the school bus. I still don't even know what it was for. I didn't have you sign it, but I did have Dad sign it without telling Mom.
Oh, I did too. And then I still got busted.
I know. We went to the carnival for whatever, and one of the guys, Tommy, and from 4-H was like, "Hey, heard you got a pink slip on the bus." And my mom's like, "I'm sorry, what?"
and you know what she said? I will always find out.
Yes, and it's true. It is
true.
Do you ever get tired of being asked twin questions? Nah, it's fun. Usually another one that comes up is like, did you have bunk beds? Which we did. Can strangers tell you apart? So usually people would have to get to know us a little bit, and then it was very easy for them to tell us apart. Do you like the same hobbies and activities? We're kind of different.
I think
in that.
Yeah, life stage has been so different too, so it's hard to even remember who I was. For all these little kids.
You would much rather, I'm like, let me go for a walk, and you're much rather do something, either walk with someone or more, like do something more competitive.
Yeah, like
or
I would
intense.
go mountain biking.
Yeah.
And like see if I could get the fastest time on the trail for that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know something out there. There's a question that says, like, do you have any funny mix-up stories? And I can't think of any, but did you feel this way? If someone would call us the wrong name but was kind of confident in it, I would just go along with it. Would you do that?
Oh yeah, we never wanted to.
We didn't like draw attention and like, I'm not Diana.
Yeah.
And then you'd feel bad if they did find out they were calling you the wrong one. So that sometimes backfired. Okay, lastly, did you ever think of having a double wedding?
I would have loved it.
Oh, it would have been a blast.
Yeah.
Very cost effective.
And it would have gotten us more attention.
Like maybe the newspaper would have picked it up and
might have been even bigger. I don't know. Like,
if only Tom had a brother. Can you imagine if we could have married twins? Oh my goodness.
Well, then I married someone from India, and our wedding ended up being quite elaborate, which is, Dawn had this cute DIY farm wedding.
Simple,
it
but
was
so fun.
So cute. And then I had the Indian...
My big fat Indian wedding.
And so it's kind of funny how we both got what was best for us. So,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, Dawn, so let's just talk about a few steps that we can, practical things we can put in place to help you rebuild
friends.
This friend
I know.
base.
We've been talking about this kind of a lot. I'm like... No, I'll be honest. It makes me a little sad, the state of my friendships right now.
Because it happened fast. It fell apart fast. Yeah. You did have some really dear friends that you thought were lifers.
Yep.
And when that happens, that hurts. And there's not a lot of ways to process it it's kind of like a little uncharted sometimes. Yeah,
and I think too, as I've thought about it more, because then you like think about it and you're like, I don't want to think about it anymore. And then you're like, do I have to write a letter or what?
Yes.
And then, but I think it's just our brain does not like open loops. Yeah. And it is continually trying to solve for it. And in a way, it's a protective mechanism, right? Because it's like, well, don't do the same thing again.
Yeah.
And there's been times I do have a couple of close friends, but there's been times when they go longer between communication and I'm like, oh, great. Did it again, clearly I'm so annoying to be a friend with, and so you get gun shy, you're afraid to get back on the horse again.
I'll never forget, we went to that women's Bible study at church, and there was a gal, I don't know what the discussion question was. She was trying so hard to keep it together, but she ended up almost sobbing. And she said, we had these close family friends, they had kids the same age for multiple years. They vacationed together. On the weekends, it was like, what are we doing this weekend? And then they just cut things off and ghosted her. And she was just sobbing. She's like, I don't know what happened. And I just think, we see our kids go through this now. We're in just such this weird technological space. And I think a lot of us too are just, I don't know, I just kind of have been waking up and like, what is happening to our friendships? And why is it so hard to keep close, meaningful friendships?
Yeah.
And so I have been working on this workshop on Make Your New Best Friend, because many of us are looking to rebuild our friend base. Either we actually need to make new relationships, or we need to kind of revitalize, maybe try to go a little deeper and get the authenticity that we desire. And the biggest thing I've been learning in all of this, because I don't know, I just am always like, what happened? How did we get here? Basically, over the last 30 years, we've gone from, on average, having 3.5 close friends. We've cut that in half. We're at 1.8. The average person has 1.8. That's awkward. 1.8 close friends. So that's less than 2 on average. Yeah. And because we all know technology, right? But the lack of emotion in text communications is actually just completely deteriorating our relationships. And we think, no, it's just efficient. It's easy. We don't call anymore. Everybody text messages. But what happens is we don't sense emotion and respond with compassion the way we do to in-person communications. And so if you've ever sent a text message of something like really hard that happened or whatever, and then your friend was like, oh, I'm so sorry thinking about you.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm sorry, what? Like, I just sent you 2 paragraphs and then we don't know. She just got really bad news or she had a tough day at work. She's in between things. She just wanted to respond to you and not forget because she knows that you're hurting. But and we miss each other.
Yep.
And then, but now what did I just do? I just put up a little bit of a wall and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll try one more time. And then when I see her at soccer, she's distracted with work things and I'm like, hey, it's me. And she's like, I just got to take this call. And then I'm like, okay. And now I don't talk to, I don't go to her with those things anymore.
Yeah. And then she's left wondering, what did I do wrong?
But she's busy.
Yeah.
And confrontation or because she's like, oh, great, I did something.
Yeah.
I don't have the time. Just like, you're like, don't send me a thought. Oh, that was our other video. I don't have the time. And we feel that way sometimes where we're like, it would be much easier just to put Netflix on tonight than to go have a difficult conversation and what I did wrong this time. So that's the biggest thing that I've been learning is the current of culture right now is taking us toward disconnection and isolation.
Yeah.
And we're like, I've never been more connected. I have 1 million friends on Facebook. I text message, when I look at the number of text messages I send in a day,
yeah.
I'll go to text mom and she's 15 messages down and I'm like, no kidding.
Yeah.
I sent 15 different text messages today. And so we're like, I'm good. I'm connected. But the drift of culture is actually disconnecting us. So if we want to have meaningful friendships, and we need them, it's actually really hard on your health if you don't have friendships. It's worse than smoking, which seems like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
It got to the point that the Surgeon General said that loneliness is our greatest health epidemic above drug use. And so that's how serious it is because it's deteriorating our health. It's deteriorating our mental health. And we're seeing it a lot in our young people too, where they're really struggling with emotional well-being and being connected and knowing how to maintain these friendships. So I've taken time. I've been, looking at all the research and all the things. I also rebuilt my friend base. I was the one 2 years ago. I left my full-time job. We moved neighborhoods. I had my 3rd and then 4th baby and I was just tired and alone. I woke up one day and I was like, wait, where did all my friends go?
Right.
And so I've been rebuilding over the last couple of years. It was kind of bumpy. There were a lot of times where I really assumed I was the problem and I thought, what's wrong with me? But then all of a sudden I've gotten to this place where I'm like, I did it. And there's some super practical things that you can put in place. Yeah. There's steps you can take. We can unpack some of that past hurt that would prevent you from connecting again. And then also just get some great tools for going deeper in relationships, having authentic conversations, and really strengthening the relationships that we find and want to maintain.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to your workshop. In fact, I invited myself into it to help you.
Yeah, Tuesday. The second day is we're going to unpack the baggage, so you can join me for that.
No, I think it's just a conversation that all of us could benefit from, and I think sometimes we need other people around us to process with and say hey, what do I have to own in this, and then also can you encourage me to get back out there because I don't honestly feel like it, even though you're telling me it's so good for me.
When I heard that 3 in 5 people are experiencing loneliness, and one of the authors I was reading, he said, rather than assuming the person that you're looking at or across the street or whatever has a well-connected friend network, assume that they're lonely.
Yeah.
That really validated me because I was like, okay, I'm not the only one. And it was super interesting because when we moved to the neighborhood, I had a block party right away. I was like, everybody's invited, dessert and drinks on the front yard, bring a dessert to share. And we got an inflatable and it was awesome. There were 2 women who shared my faith and I assumed we were going to be best friends. It wasn't them.
Yeah.
It's the cute young lady that moved in next door.
No.
I don't know that. I don't even know.
I really hope she's listening.
Yeah. No, she's super cute. Anyway, and that is just super fun. And anyway, and so it's just interesting how sometimes we think, oh, okay, this person, I'm going to connect with them or I'll do this or that and everything. So I've tried everything. I've made the mistakes. I've questioned myself. I have the top tips and tricks. I know what works in this day and age, which is different now than when our mom was stopping in at the neighbor's house on her way home from picking us up from daycare. And so we'll just boil it down. We're going to go through a 5-day process. The workshop will be available afterwards on demand.
Yeah. No, I'm really looking forward to it because especially I think as we head into the fall, some of us have more opportunities
That's what I was thinking.
To just be in front of other people. So going in with a little confidence and feeling like, okay, like I got some questions, I got some tools, got maybe an idea of who I'm looking for and who to connect with. And so I think it's actually a great time of year. And I mean, isn't there something like when someone validates your human experience and when you share something hard and they're like, wow, I get it, or I've been there, or I haven't, but that sounds horrible. Yeah. We can get through hard things and do hard things and live hard lives. I mean, the research is we need one person to witness it. But man, if we have more than one, even, you know, like we can do this, we can get through it. But when we lose that, it is like, it gets dark fast. So
yeah. And I don't know, where did this come in that we think we have to do everything alone and on our own, and we're self-made and we're independent, and
it was probably with like the Industrial Revolution.
I actually think it was. And when marketing invented the nuclear family. We actually know.
All right. Well, we're going to put details down below. Just so you know, it is a faith-based workshop. So if that's not for you, we understand. I am going to plan to pop in. Diana says one day. I don't know if I'm going to be able to resist coming in for more days than that too.
Yeah, come on in.
I need it too. So anyway, so we'll put the details for that down below. And thank you also for sharing in on our twin talk. We don't reflect on it too much anymore. But man, I'm telling you, I mean, Diana is my biggest cheerleader. And so if you have someone like that behind you, you can do anything. So I owe a lot of my success, I feel like, to you as well.
Aw, I feel the same way. All those times you said, you're not too much. You're not crazy. You'll make friends. Keep at it.
That's awesome. All right. Well, we love you. If you're watching on YouTube, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, we appreciate that as well. But we love you. We hope you have a really great day, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you for joining us on the Minimal Mom Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend who might find value in embracing a simplified lifestyle.